feel like you're going crazy, and you constantly feel like you want to kill yourself.
You never want to hear that someone's hurting so much inside. That's what they would resort to. There are times where you think, well, what if I grew up without a dad? Or not even grew up, but what if I had to continue without my father?
It's not just a sadness. It can be so debilitating that it cripples people. You're not able to go to work. You're not able to function within a normal family unit.
Two daughters that were growing up without a dad. So I was there, but I just wasn't any part of their lives.
Here is somebody who struggled every single solitary day to get up and wanted to do nothing but give up, and yet he didn't.
The guilt is not going to go away anytime soon, because it's been 18 years that you've been, what have I been? I haven't been anything. I've just been a burden to everybody.
You've been sick.
You think about it, that for most of their lives, they had to take care of me, not me take care of them. And that's bad. That's very sad.
Vito is one of my most difficult patients because he responded to so little.
I must have tried over 100 different types of medications and then 100 different combinations of medications, which wasn't seem to be working at all.
I don't even remember which drug it was, but it made him so paranoid that he was convinced that people were behind doors or in the corner of a room. You know, he would say, "Don't you see that person standing there?"
I thought somebody was always out to get me. Somebody was in my basement. Somebody was in the closet. One medication, it felt like there was bugs on my skin.
Other medications would make him have night terrors, and I'm not talking nightmares.
Yeah.
I'm talking blood-curdling screaming in the middle of the night.
I felt pretty much the same way that he did. Dispirited. It's always a tendency to blame yourself, to think that if only you had tried something else, he would have responded.
Vito, in particular, had undergone many therapies before coming to me, of course. Many different medications, a lot of cognitive therapy, and electroconvulsive therapy. And what that is a big shock to the brain. There are a number of stimulation-based therapies. The most common surgical one is called deep brain stimulation, or DBS.
Some people think it's excessive, that you're going to get brain surgery for a disease, but at that point I had no other option because my life was, I didn't have a life at that point.
We actually stimulate the brain, usually using electrical energy, and the reason that's done is because the brain, of course, is a bunch of neurons and nerve cells that communicate with each other using electrical rhythms. And so when those electrical rhythms and that communication is not working properly, you see disorders. But it involves the placement of very small, what we call electrodes, which are little wires, into the brain itself. So it's a surgical procedure done in the operating room. The electrodes are placed down into a specific spot within the brain, and we target that spot based on the patient's symptoms. So this wire is then connected to a battery pack that sits under the skin, much like a pacemaker. And the generator, or the battery, delivers the stimulation through that wire into the brain, into that targeted spot. It's not a permanent therapy. As long as it's working, the patient can keep it going for as long as he or she likes. If it's not working, it can be removed without any damage, without any permanent change in the brain.
I remember thinking, oh, you know, somebody going into your brain and putting electrodes in there, I'm not ready for that.
Is it like it was before?
Yeah.
He's awake, he's comfortable. It's right in the middle of surgery. We were talking to him. We're saying, how do you feel? What's your mood like? What's your level of anxiety?
Being on an operating table and the room becomes brighter or colors vivid, your chest feeling lighter, like somebody's not sitting on your chest anymore, or a headache that you've had for 18 years finally subsides temporarily. So it was quite amazing.
It's not a guarantee. We're getting better and better, but there's still room for improvement. And importantly, this is not something that you do and then you're done. Vito, for example, continues to work very hard through the depression that is still there.
So it wasn't as if the device was turned on and all of a sudden, you know, he was,
life is good again.
Right, mowing the lawn and, you know, doing other things. It was a push. I would say about 7 months in is when we started to notice very subtle things that he didn't even recognize yet. As time went on, you would start to see him interacting more with the girls, and just overall, just you could see that this weight was lifted off of him.
It's been life-changing, really has.
I honestly thought it was a little extreme. I was for it, but I thought it was a little extreme. I know she hated the idea of it.
Hated the idea.
Just a very unfortunate side story within our own field. Destructive surgical procedures like the lobotomy, for example, being done around the same time in the 40s and 50s.
What they did was inexcusable, dangerous, and they created an enormous amount of harm. They ruined hundreds, thousands of patients. Best known patient was the sister of John and Robert Kennedy, who had psychosurgery done, had a lobotomy done, and she had developmental problems to start with, and it just destroyed her.
These new procedures are nothing like lobotomy. These are extremely precise and accurate.
It has given him his life back. And yes, it's very complicated surgery, but it was a huge trade-off to have the surgery in order to get his life back. It was well worth it.
The results for Vito are so spectacular that you have to believe that there really has been a quantum leap in the treatment of severe depression.
It's not for everybody, but number one is that it does exist, there is hope, and as the awareness increases, I hope more patients have access to this.
He fought back. He fought hard for a long time, and he deserves to feel good. He deserves to be happy.
I know how hard it is to live with somebody who has this disease, but you have to be their support. You have to be the one that's always fighting for them, because they are not capable of fighting for themselves.
What kept you from committing suicide?
Oh, God. Never used to cry either, by the way.
It's good to cry.
No, it's not.
Good to cry. Yes, it is.
Well, this is
yes, it is.
just recently because of these wires on my head.
That's part of the reason why I know the girls.
Yeah, besides that, besides the kids, besides my wife, the family, every day was a struggle. What I'm looking forward to the most is just the simple things in life. That's it. I'm not looking for grandeur, I'm just looking to live my life. I mean, I lost 18 years, and now I'm living life again.